Welcome to A Scrap Life, a podcast solely focused on the hustlers, grinders, operators, and business owners who live and breathe the scrap metal industry every day. Here is your host, Brett Eckhart.
All right, here for another Q&A with Brett. How you doing today, Brett?
Good, man. How was last week? Was a busy ass week for you, huh?
So proud of my wife. Shout out to my wife. She got her. I hit on this last week, but she got through the graduation. We got through graduation week, and it was so awesome because every day she got like a courting or like a leadership award, and it was a great week to where she really we could celebrate all this work she's done, because she's not really like that, where she doesn't really want the spotlight on her. But this last week, the spotlight was on her, and I was very happy for her.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I think things work out for a reason. Like, things happen the way they're supposed to happen. We don't know always why they go the way they go, but if you just are patient enough and you keep trying and keep pushing, I think that it's amazing how stuff falls in line if you just don't give up in life. Whatever that is, whether it's like an education or whether that's your business or whether that's your your personal goal you've been working on. If you just are willing to just keep fighting for it, and some days you're not gonna feel like it, but if you just keep putting yourself in the arena, I mean, it's inevitable. At some point you're gonna win.
Yep. Wake up and show up on the days you feel good and on the days you feel like shit. And, some days you're going to be able to give 110%, and some days you might not have that,
And I would say, like, a majority of the people that are getting a college degree, I think that's really what the degree, like, you're getting. Like, unless you're just a really specialized trade or really a specialized where you need to do this in order to get to medical school, in order to become a doctor, to do this, like, generally speaking, it's just like it's teaching you how to keep showing up to the classes you don't want, to the professors you don't like, and just fucking keeping the hammer down and fighting the days you're sick and the days you're hungover and you don't want to, and just getting through it, right? Like, that's kind of one of the things you get out of a college degree. Now, is it worth the price of admission? I'm not here to debate that right now. But do you get something out of it? Yes. Is that what you get? A lot of it, in my opinion, yes. So you get the satisfaction of saying, I stuck with something long enough to see the finish line.
makes you real employable.
Yeah. I mean, it just teaches you perseverance, grit.
Yeah. All right, I got two questions for you, Brett.
Shoot.
One's from Justin. I talked to him about going to REMA in San Diego. Sorry we didn't make it this year, but we'll see people soon.
Yeah, we'll see you.
He was just wondering, like, did we decide to go all the way in on the tire recycling side? Like, when did we decide the opportunity was there, and how would someone like him in his area decide if the opportunity was there and it's really time to, like, take a hard look at how to get into the tire recycling? I've gotten this question a lot.
Yeah.
And I know we've already hit on it, but I think a lot of people have a thirst for that because we are going hard at it.
The tire recycling business for us was born out of a necessity because, we're kind of on a weird island in Idaho where, your good tire outlets, your places that take tires, whether it's a TDF market or whatever market, even a crumb market. It takes a populated market to have schools and fields and sports fields that need redone, right? So we were in a tricky situation because one of the landfills around here that we had shipped tires to, and that pretty much a lot of people had shipped tires to over, the last few decades or whatever.
Almost
I guess.
everyone. That's where they were going.
They stopped receiving tires. But before that, were jacking the price up, like, to receive tires. It went from like $100 a ton to $200 a ton to $400 a ton, to where people were like, man, it's a cost prohibitive to get rid of tires. So then we had kind of some tire recyclers here, but they were serviced out of bigger cities, from the West Coast or down Utah. And so it was just creating like a really customer service issue. Tires were getting dumped. We didn't really have a place to go, so we started putting them at one of our yards, making a pile. Next thing you know, we had 500 ton, 600 ton of problem too, right? And so then we were like, okay, what do we do? So we bought a mobile shredder. We got with the DEQ. We said, what does it take to be able to bury this material? And we had to get 65% reduction in the state of Idaho. So we bought a shredder that could meet that. We shredded it. We went through the engineering firm, got the test, got the results, presented to DEQ. They said yes, that's fine. And then that's how we started. Well, once we got all of our tires processed, here we are with $1 million shredder, and our tires are processed, and we were still getting some in, but not at the volume to support that piece of equipment, right? Yeah. And then so we started landfills. We started reaching out to landfills. They were reaching out to us. They're already our customer on the scrap end, and we started saying, "Hey, we can come out to your area, shred your tires at your landfill," because landfills were starting to fill up with tires, and they didn't have really a use for them. They didn't have a shredders. They had no ability to, so they couldn't bury them whole. It's against the DEQ state of Idaho regulations. So they knew they had to get the reduction. We had the equipment, and that's kind of how we got into the mobile shredding. Well, then we got so busy we couldn't take care of our own tires and the landfill tires. So we bought another mobile shredder, and that's it.
Within
just
like
snowballed.
a year, within a year,
we were like, "You guys buy another
boom,
one."
boom.
I'm like, we went from what do we do with this one now that we're done with it?
Yeah.
So we need to buy another one.
Because that's what was crazy, that it went that quick,
Yeah.
And then you really find, oh, this need wasn't just for us, You're finding a solution for so many people, and then it really just opened my eyes. I'm like, well, shit.
The biggest businesses are born out of a problem, like a big problem that needs solved, right? I've been posting that a little bit, kind of lately, because I came across a quote that I really liked, and it was, the bigger problem you solve, the more money you make, right? Whether you're an entrepreneur, you work just at a big firm, and you can big company, and you can kind of help them solve a big problem. All of a sudden, you'll probably make more money, right? Because you're helping somebody solve a big problem. Well, in our market, tires was a big problem. It still is. So, like for us, we the more we put research, effort, time, equipment, money into solving that problem, our goal is to, hopefully be financially rewarded. So, to Justin's question, like, how do we decide? Well, we saw a problem and we addressed it. Now, if you're in a market and you see a problem, then you may not solve it the way we solved it with a mobile shredder. It may be like there's a service problem, there's an outlet problem, there's a whatever problem, right?
You got to identify the problem.
Right?
Figure
Figure out what the problem is in your market. It's not just like, hey, I see a lot of tires everywhere. Is that an opportunity? Well, if there's not really a problem associated with it, just you see a lot of tires because you're looking for them now all of a sudden, there may not be a market for you in that business, right? But if you can solve somebody's problem, that's where I think you can decide what's my entry into that market. But if I'm going to enter any market, it's because I'm trying to solve for an issue that's in it, right? I mean, think about all your tech startups and all your your business startups. They're all trying to either compete with something that's already working, which is a much more difficult way to enter a business, right?
Yes, much more.
It's much more difficult versus like, I see a problem, I want to address it, and now I'm going to build a business around addressing that problem. Those are the ones that usually, if you can execute, you can have more success.
Yeah, and you address that problem in a unique way, because there might be other people addressing that problem in a way that's not efficient enough, And that's where, you do go back to like the tech world. They are competing against each other, and they all think they have a better product. Now, if you truly do have a better product and a better solution, you are going to win.
And I will say this, like, when we were throughout this process of trying to understand the tire side, like, a lot of people were very good to me, and they taught me a lot about the tire business. I'm a problem solver, not necessarily like trying to figure out like what the there's people out there that love the tire recycling business, right? And I looked at it more as like, I don't know a lot about tires, the chemical makeup, the all the outlets, all the uses, and I was really, really green. I just was like, hey, there's a problem here, and it started with us. Like, let's solve that. And then that's how we kind of ended up in the tire business. And then we decided, okay, now that we solved this problem, these other ones are getting created, or they're being opened up to us. Now let's go. Then we built off the opportunities.
Then we found the opportunity. Yes.
Yeah. But it started with solving for a problem, and that's kind of how and it snowballed from there.
Okay, second question from Foon over there in the Detroit area. He's opening a second yard. I think he's already talked to you about this, but we were kind of just talking about his new yard. He was showing me pictures, address. I'm really happy for all those guys.
Yeah.
But like we know, when you open a new yard, people, that is the problem, finding the right people. So are there any tips or tricks on finding the right people / leaders, or identifying the wrong leaders or managers in your situation? Do you have any advice for him on that?
I think there's a reason why a lot of your businesses, and not just scrap, but a lot of businesses, that leap from one facility to two, I think is your biggest leap, right? Mm-hmm. Because it creates the most issues. Because it really, like I love Jay Milligan for this term, but he's like, we talk about it every time we put a yard in or a new facility in, is that we only have so much peanut butter. We have all this bread, and all the opportunities are the bread, right? He's like, we're running out of peanut butter, which for him is people, right?
Yes.
And so your people are your peanut butter. They are like, and if you start creating all these opportunities, then every slice of bread gets a little less peanut butter, and then you just have a dry ass shitty sandwich. Well, if you can figure out how to get more peanut butter, get more people, that's what's going to help you solve, and that's what's going to bring you the ability to put that second facility in, that second yard in, and give it the opportunity to have success, right? So having one facility is great. Having 20 facility is great, but you better have 20, managers that can run those 20 facilities,
28 players,
and then 20 people below that 20 that can help take pressure off, and then 20 people above the 20 managers that can help facilitate everything else on the back end that needs to happen. So it really is a people so if I'm sitting there thinking I'm going to add another facility, then I'm also sitting there thinking, who am I training to run that facility?
Yep.
Or what am I doing in order to put the building blocks in place so that I can train somebody to run that facility, right? And so I think the biggest leap is from 1 to 2. After that, it becomes a little bit easier because you've done it.
You've been through the process.
The process. But you really have got to identify who your peanut butter is going to be that's going to help you spread that load. Because if it's just you, or just you and one other person trying to facilitate both facilities,
things are going to start slipping through the cracks.
You've got to be. You have to be bringing people through the system, training the next guy that you're training has got to be training the next guy, and all the way down the line, so that you can then move forward. And
the dangers of getting maybe a manager or someone in a leadership position in there that maybe isn't helping create more peanut butter under him.
Yeah.
That's going to and you might not identify that originally. Like, that could be part of the problem. And that could be a training, a leadership. It could be a fixable problem.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it's not fixable, where it's just not the right fit. And that's doing probably a favor to both parties. The employee's probably not happy because they're not the right fit, and like no one wants to feel unvalued.
Yep.
And they're also not helping your business run more efficiently. So it's kind of like keeping a Band-Aid on a fucking flesh wound,
I just was talking to somebody yesterday in the accounting side, and we were just talking about this. We were talking to there's another business owner out there, not in the recycling business, but in another business, and they were talking about there's a couple owners, and they were talking about like they're trying to grow, right? And then their biggest hurdle to growth is like, do we hire somebody to grow? Do we just keep doing it ourselves? And like, what does that look like? And we had the conversation. We explained like how many people we've had to go through, and we always say you got to kiss a lot of frogs to find a prince. Like, in order to find the number of princes and princesses that we have, we've kissed a fucking gazillion frogs. Like, we've had good people come through, and we didn't do our job and train them correctly, so they didn't last. We've had shitheads come through that we didn't eliminate fast enough. Mm-hmm. And then there's people we have eliminated like quickly. But it's a volume game, like until you get the right people, and then it smooths out, right? It's like I'm trying to think of a good analogy, but essentially, like when you're in the mode of trying to get good people, you got to just keep pounding through people until you get the right people that's the right fit, that understands their lane.
They keep your culture, keep your standard.
They keep your culture, they keep your standard. They understand what you're trying to do. They're bought in. Mm-hmm. And then once you get that core group, then they start training the people below. Yep. And for a core group, it could just be one person. Like if you get one... Let me tell this story real quick. My dad has a really good friend, and he was moving up through a company, right? And his he didn't want to, even though he could make more money, he didn't want to travel the amount he was traveling to all these stores they were setting up, mm-hmm. and manage like 8 stores, right? Mm-hmm. So, but the guy was really good at training people. So that he went to the company and said, here's the deal. I don't want to manage 8 stores, but what I am really good at is training people, right? And they agreed. And they said, well, how about this? They pretty much created a position for the guy, right? They said, every time we set up a store, you go there, you train the people how you want done. And it was a retail business. You train them, help us set it up, and you can go home, mm-hmm. right? And you can work at one of these stores. You manage one store, you're fine. But then when we get a new one, you go to that one, help us get the people, and you go back. So you don't manage that store. You just help train the people that mm-hmm. need. He was the guy that was creating more peanut butter, right? Mm-hmm. Like he was the guy that was sitting there just training people to what the culture was, what the expectations were, how to run it and do it. But he didn't want. I mean, he's like, I'll take less money.
But he didn't want to manage 8
He didn't want to manage all those people, yes. which wasn't his forte, right? Mm-hmm. Some people want that. They want that smoke. They want to.
And him being able to identify that in himself, because a lot of people would probably be like, no, I want to do it all, So yeah. I think that's real valuable, and I think that comes with getting older.
Yeah, that company needed one guy.
Yeah,
one guy made that growth that trajectory that they were on that much easier, because he just said, I will just be the guy that goes and trains the people, right?
Yeah.
And then what they would do, they got smart. They said, instead of you going to that store, what we're going to do is we know a store is coming and we know who we want to manage it. We're just going to have him come to your store and you're going to run him through your store, and this is how you're going to do it.
So it's just making it easier on him too.
So now he's not traveling. He's training the next level. That guy is invaluable. Like if you're that person in a big company and you make yourself invaluable, that's how you do it. And there's a book out there called Linchpin.
Yeah.
If you've ever you and I have talked about it.
Yeah.
If you've ever read it or if you haven't read it, go read Linchpin. Mm-hmm. Like that's how you become essentially a linchpin. And a linchpin is someone in the chain that's basically it cannot survive without the linchpin.
Everything falls apart without it.
Yep. And if you want paid more, if you want to to do more, become a linchpin within your industry, within your company, within your whatever, and you take that the responsibility on. And back to Foon's question, if you can find that guy, overpay him. Mm-hmm. Get him in. Her, whatever, get them in and let them, they will help you more than you will ever help yourself.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Everyone out there in San Diego, I hope you're having fun.
Enjoy Rima. Good on you for making it out.
But we're in Idaho having fun.
Exactly.
All right. Thanks.
Take care.